Okay, hello. Thanks for having us. My name is Kevin. This is Chris, and we're excited to present about EVLife today. We got started out of the Startup Weekend last April, or this April, out in Folsom, and we were fortunate enough to walk away with a first place prize, first place win. And we are in the process now, this was 2 months ago, so we're in the process now of taking that momentum and all that energy and excitement from that weekend and moving forward with that as a team. So I'll talk a little bit about our team. We collectively, most of us have worked with each other or were friends before. We met Chris at Startup Weekend, but collectively we have a lot of startup experience. We have a lot of engineering experience. We are data-driven, customer-driven, and product-driven, and so we are trying to. We got together before Startup Weekend to figure out what we were going to bring to what idea we were going to work on. We had two major themes we wanted to hit. We wanted to try and find an idea where we could address sustainability, and another idea, another theme around using data to help drive positive customer behavior. And so we worked together for about a month before, generating ideas, debating, researching, and we honed in on an idea around electric vehicles. And so while we were researching these ideas and we started getting specific about electric vehicles, we found a lot of information that was kind of striking and eye-opening for us. And the first that was really important was that this is from 2016, so I'm just going to take the liberty of saying this is probably over 90% now, but 90% of U.S. driving habits by all of us, the way we drive, the amount that we drive, could be satisfied with an electric vehicle on the market today. So the range that the EVs have today could satisfy the way that we drive. Consumers are consistently overestimating the costs of owning an electric vehicle, and they're underestimating the benefits of owning that same electric vehicle. And this number is really hard to kind of find the truth on, but it hovers around 1% of the cars on the market today are electric vehicles. So not a lot of cars out there are being sold. And so we also knew intuitively that EVs are the future. We have data to back this up. 11 countries have announced gas and diesel bans by 2040. Bloomberg states that 55% of new car sales will be electric by 2040. 20 brands are already making EVs. All those committed to going 100% electric. By 2024, these EVs will be cost competitive with gas vehicles without a subsidy. And as we all know, technology and infrastructure are advancing very rapidly, and there's a lot of other people in this space working on those challenges. And so when we did all this research and we were thinking about these ideas, these two numbers are the ones that really stood out at us. And that was the problem that we decided we wanted to solve. Why are there so many vehicles that are good and right for U.S. drivers, yet not enough people are buying them? Why is that? And so part of Startup Weekend, most of Startup Weekend, we were sitting around a desk talking to each other, just hashing things out. One of the most impactful parts of the weekend was getting us out into the field, talking to real customers, talking to existing EV owners, people that don't own an EV, and then we also went to the dealership to talk to them about their experience. They're on the front lines, having people come in. They're seeing people's concerns, and they're talking to people about the details of owning an EV. We wanted to understand from their perspective, why aren't people buying these things? And the problems that exist for these customers are that there's a lack of education out there. There's range anxiety. Customers are afraid that they're going to break down in the middle of their day, and they're afraid that they're going to have this thing in their driveway that they can't return, they're going to be stuck with, and it just doesn't meet their lifestyle. So all those collectively are creating this atmosphere where people don't feel confident buying an electric vehicle. And so what EVLife wants to do, we want to do a lot. EVLife is intentional. We want to be the center of an EV owner's lifestyle. And there's a lot of things down the road that we have already thought about what we can do and that we are exploring. But right now, what we are focusing on is that education and the range anxiety fear when someone's doing their research. And so we want to connect well-informed, confident buyers with motivated sellers, essentially lead generation. We want to hand over a very warm, confident lead to somebody that wants to sell them that electric vehicle. And as I mentioned before, when you're looking into an electric vehicle, it's completely different than than buying a gas car. I'm going to speed through this because I've talked a lot. We aim to have tools, resources, and content for prospective EV owners. And one of those tools that we're beginning to build now and that we think is kind of game-changing is a tool that's going to help people understand their driving habits. They download the app, they put it in their pocket, and it kind of analyzes their driving, where they're going, how far they're going, how far they're drifting from charging stations, how often they were parked at a parking spot that had a charging location there. Really just try to, our tagline right now is test drive an EV from the comfort of your own car. So you'll get the data, you get the report, and hopefully that gives you the confidence for you to buy a car, an electric car when you're ready.
So our business model is pretty fluid at this point, but a couple of revenue streams that we've identified that we feel confident in is selling leads, like Kevin just alluded to. A pretty conservative estimate is selling a lead for about $40, depending on how hot and embedded it is. We think we could get significantly more than $40. Second one is ads. So the $2.24 cost per click is essentially benchmarked from a Facebook metric, and our obvious customer is dealerships. So our market sizing, we did the TAM SAM analysis. So for our TAM, it's based on the 17.2 million new vehicles that are sold in the US every year. At the conservative estimate of $40 per lead, that's going to get to a $690 million TAM. We're going to scale down for our SAM just based on the electric vehicles that were sold in 2018 in the US. So that's 360,000. At $40 a lead, that's going to get us to about a $15 million SAM. And our SOM is purely based on the California electric vehicle market, which is 40% of electric vehicle sales. And that's going to get us to about $6 million SOM. So our competitor analysis, through our market research, we've identified an array of competitors. However, EVLife is the only one to provide comprehensive tools like the EV Simulator that Kevin had touched on, resources and content like articles, blogs, podcasts. We have an EV focus, and we're also supporting the EV buyer along their full customer journey.
Right now, you can go to EVLife.co if you're interested in learning more. We are in the process of building our simulator, and we would love to share that announcement with you when we're ready and when it's in the App Store. So you can go to EVLife.co, give us your name and address, and we'll be in touch with you as soon as possible. Thank you.
So you can stay up for Q&A. For those of you who didn't catch this company is just a couple months old. So, and you're not in the market yet.
We're not in the market. No, we're actively working. Our team is cranking, and we're meeting every week. And
so my question is, do you have what is your target date for being released? Do you have a target date or target month for releasing the app in the App Store?
Last month.
What is your realistic?
We're hoping to have something in the hands of beta testers by September. By the fall. That's our goal. Yeah. And right now we're still doing customer research. We're still nailing our personas. We're still there's a lot to explore the entire landscape and the ecosystem around electric vehicles, and we're actively in the community right now. Meeting with people, interviewing. There's a lot of work that's going in outside the app. So.
Well, I think September is an extraordinary goal. So.
I would beta testing.
Yes.
Our goal is for beta testing.
Right. Well, absolutely. Yeah. Which you should do first anyway.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. I'll open it up to other questions.
Are you incorporated yet, or are you
No, we have not incorporated. We're trying to take the same steps that we are taking with our product, which is slow and iterative. And we're still in that validation phase. We're still looking at our competitors and trying to figure out what differentiates us. And when we find that out, I think we're on that path. But at that, when it's necessary and only when it's necessary, we'll do that. Otherwise, it's just a distraction to us at this point, and we're going to just try to focus on our tech and focus on our team and the customers and the entire landscape out there. Because there's a lot that we're learning and that we need to learn. So.
Other questions?
Yes.
So, other trends in mobility, shared ride, autonomous driving, shared ownership. Your model probably correctly assumes that people still buy cars, own them, and put them in the driveway. But how fast do you think things are changing to where They might have a primary car, but the backup car is zip car or
It's
gig
just
car.
a tap away.
So how does what you have integrate with the change in the way cars are bought and sold?
That's a good question. I've been asking that question out when I'm at Clean Start events and wherever in SAC EV events and all the other events that we've been attending. I'm not getting a solid answer. I don't think anybody knows yet. I think the technology is advancing rapidly, but the technology is different from customer adoption. And I don't have a good sense yet of how quickly customers are going to be willing to adopt a new model of car disownership, if you will. And so until we know that, we're continuing on the path of thinking that people are still going to want to own a vehicle. It's a very U.S. thing to own a vehicle. I don't think that's going away soon. But at the same time, I do also believe that there are services out there, Uber and Lyft, and services that aren't even invented yet, that will displace traditional car ownership. And until we know more about that, until we have a good sense of that timing, we're focusing on this aspect.
And I'll speak to one major benefit of the stage that we're at now is that we're fluid to future opportunities. So I mean, that could be vehicle sales, that could be used vehicles, that could be batteries or data or maintenance, charging, solar. So we're not stuck on one idea, and obviously we're going to be iterative and fluid to opportunities that we see.
And one second. That's the other thing is, like Chris alluded to, Startup Weekend was just 3 days, right? And we had this idea, and then you go out, and it doesn't mean that the idea we generated at Startup Weekend is the thing that's going to take us. So we think we're on to something, and we're trying to figure that out and trying to understand that something more. And in some respect, what we're doing now is trying to invalidate ourselves. Because if we can't invalidate ourselves, then we have a company. If we can't invalidate ourselves, we either pivot or we say, hey, that was a great weekend. What's next? So we're looking at everything, and we're researching, and we're trying to answer those questions for ourselves. If you have an idea, if you have some numbers or some research that you can share with me, I would love to see that. Because as in right now, I haven't seen definitive research.
Yeah, the only number I have is we have 2 drivers in the house and we have 3 cars, because experience says that's the minimum required to have 2 vehicles that are actually operational when you need them, and that's ridiculous.
Yes.
Kind of piggybacking on what you said, I heard something of SAC to zero. Have you heard of this? It's the idea of,
I've seen it
yeah, so
posted around SAC.
right. The idea is you don't own it, you borrow the EV. Right?
Yeah, I think
buy into it.
there's the Chevy Bolts around town. That's part of the gig car. Yeah, gig car is similar. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that makes sense in a grid. There's a lot of in Sacramento region is not as dense as Sacramento, so there's still a lot of necessity for owning a car, I think. So, but yeah, absolutely, those are important services. I don't think that. I think I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think car ownership is still going to be a thing that needs to be, and prospective EV buyers need to be supported in ways that they're not being supported now, because there's too many things for them to know, and information's out there, but it's all disparate. It's deep Google searches. You stumble on a blog, you stumble on this, and you kind of put it together. Our goal is to have that to be the one-stop shop for the information, the tools, and the resources that you need, so you can walk into the dealership and state definitively what you want to buy and why you want to buy it. Yes.
Since human psychology has us notice that which we are interested in, if someone is not predisposed to have interest in an electric vehicle, how do you get them to adopt your app in the first place?
I think there's a lot of activity around. There's a lot of interest and activity out in the world right now about electric vehicles. There's a lot of articles. Tesla is kind of the brand winner right now for kind of informing a lot of people about the new technology that's coming. Our goal is, at this point, to attract a user that is questioning whether they should buy the electric vehicle. We don't have plans right now to absolutely convert people that don't even have an interest. So our goal is to attract a user that said, oh, EVs, those are awesome. I heard they can save you money. I heard they're cheaper. I heard they're good for the environment, but I just don't think they're right for me. Our goal is to say, well, it could be right for you. Look at our tools, look at our resources, download our app, and hopefully make that switch for them.
But how do they know about you and your app?
So that's one of the slides we don't have up here today that we had at Startup Weekend. Traditional consumer marketing, search engine marketing, app store marketing, all this. I mean, it's just a marketing problem, right? How does anybody reach out to a customer? You got to go find them, and so through advertising, through marketing to the personas that we're trying to identify with. That's the first phase of how we're going to attract
That's when you
consumers.
call up my studio.
Look at all that.
I understand we work together.
We do. I'm happy you're here. I was here a couple weeks ago. I was sad that you weren't. And I'm glad you're here.
Tell the story. I think that it's.
Tina and Uptown Studios was one of my first clients when I started out in web development 14 years ago.
Was it in the 90s? Was it?
No, early 2000s. Yeah. Damien Soul.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He left and he's now in Oakland.
Okay.
His own company.
Awesome. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can we chat after?
Yes.
I'm excited. I saw you run by. I was excited you were here.
Absolutely. I wanted to come out and say, hey, welcome.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Do you view your prime customer as the company selling the EV or the person buying the EV?
That's a good question. So it's kind of for lead generation, it's kind of a two-sided marketplace. So we can talk about our users, which would be the users of our apps and our website, our resources. At this point, we don't envision taking money for them or asking for money from them. We are looking to monetize off of the dealer or the person on the other side that has the car to sell to the prospective buyer. So we have our users who are using our services and our customers who are paying for us to deliver the users to them. Yeah.
So I guess one way to kind of pivot if people started just renting cars or just doing nothing but Uber and stuff like that is maybe just it sounds like this is kind of like the path you guys are already on anyway, but it's just a different type of information where you're kind of understanding your selling trends, but different type of trends because the information there is more so for the car owner, but this could be for companies, so companies can sell their value proposition to their investors, or perhaps owning versus leasing a property, or owning versus Uber, and then you can kind of also share information as far as with the behavior of the consumers. So it will be kind of like a big umbrella of information that you're kind of basically selling, and you're tailoring it to each, each client. So it seems like you're kind of expanding your information that you collect, and then you're tailoring it to each client.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think one of the things that I've seen in our research post Startup Weekend is that several companies that have gone after the consumer market have pivoted to corporate government and fleet management. And I think one of the reasons there is because the consumers have kind of a higher tolerance and less of an understanding about what it's going to take, right? You talk about government sales, fleet sales, you have an army of employees that can understand the technical details and the nitty-gritty and the numbers that they need to see if an EV is going to help them save money. But I think, that being said, I think the EVs that are on the market today are going farther and costing less. And I think we're now at a convergence where we're moving out of the early adopter phase and into the mass market adoption. And that's why I think right now the focus to sticking with consumers, I think, is going to be right for us. And the fleet management stuff is important as well, but I think the consumer side of things is not being addressed, and there's a gap there. So, yes.
So researchers at the EV Center at UC Davis have done huge surveys of car buyers in California, and the main takeaway is that a vast majority of them have not considered buying an EV and are not interested in considering buying an EV. And so they concluded basically that's the problem. It's not that people looked into an EV and found it wasn't good for them. It's not that they're interested in an EV but don't know how to go about figuring out if it's right for them. It's just that they're not aware of EVs. They're not even considering it in the first place. So I'm wondering if there is a way for you to get people interested in the first place. So I feel like that could really provide dealers a lot of value accessing the market that they're not tapping.
I appreciate that. Yeah, since Startup Weekend, I've learned about the research center at UC Davis, and I've made a couple connections there. I'm really interested in learning a lot about the research that's already been done. Like I said, Startup Weekend was the vacuum that we were developing in, and we are now out of that vacuum, and we are hearing things like that. And that kind of piggybacks the former comment about how do we get people interested, and that's a problem that we haven't set out to solve yet. But I agree that it's a real problem, and that's something we're gonna have to look at. So
I'd be happy to connect you with those researchers because they have learned a lot about drivers.
Yes.
And also, I'd be happy to show you that one study in particular.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. Yeah, one of the things that 1 Million Cups is, what do we need from the community? I was hoping I was asked that.
What do you need from the community?
What do I need? We need access to people that have already done the research, dealerships, the people that are experienced with lead generation. Those are all areas that we are looking to explore more and get more information about. So if you have contacts, connections, that would be really advantageous for us. We have the skills to build whatever we need to build and to market whatever we need to market. It's finding out how to learning more about the customer on each side, learning more about the research that's already been done.
One of the kudos I will give you is that you're focusing on the California market. So that is a definitely much better market for this type of thing, and you're going to have better adoption. As a person who has a hybrid, I intentionally picked the hybrid because I do a lot of long distance driving across this country, all over the place. It's really tough to find charging stations in a lot of other states and a lot of other places. Were I strictly in California, then this could become a no-brainer decision.
Gotcha.
But when you start getting outside of California and you go any place west of here or east of here, it becomes a tougher decision.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Definitely California was a good market choice.
Yeah. And something really startling that we found in our market research was in a previous slide we showed in 2018 there was 150,000 electric vehicle sales in 2018, and there's a factor of 10 less in the second highest sales state. In New York, they only have 15,000. So we see California as the obvious target market for us.
Maybe we could put some of these things across the freeways with a little charging feed.
Batteries are great at EV charging.
I'm curious, there's 6 people in your team or 5? 5? How many of you have electric vehicles?
None. And that was one of the things that when we were researching before Startup Weekend, we were like, why don't we? And that was a question that's kind of started the journey. We looked into it. We saw that so many of the cars out there can satisfy the drivers. So few drivers have adopted them like we have. And so we look at ourselves as our first customers, trying to answer the question for ourselves, and then therefore trying to answer the question for everybody else.
I also feel, like you said, I think adoption, you're going to start to have this kind of curve. One, battery life is getting better, like range is getting better. And like when your neighbor gets one, it just, how many people thought they needed a smartphone in 2008? Not that many. So, but now everybody has a smartphone. So.
Yeah, the iPhone came out in 2007, but it didn't really break through until I think 2010 or 11 on the 4th or 5th version. So people still needed to be convinced to get away from their flip phone or their BlackBerry. So.
And a car is more expensive than a phone. At least right now it is. I don't know. Phones are getting expensive. But also, I live rurally. I'm 65 miles from Sacramento. So I frequently drive 150 miles a day. So to me, it doesn't feel like an electric car is really an option. But maybe it is. If it has a...
Well, the one thing that's different about owning a gas car is that you have a fuel station at your home. So if you're only driving 150 miles a day, most of the cars out there today would be fine because when you get home, you get the charge. Your day's not going to be impacted unless you're going above 200 or 300. And that's what we hope to solve with our app. You put that in your pocket, you drive from rural to Sacramento, and you see, oh yeah, that's actually all I did all week long. I'm going to be okay. And if you're coming to Sacramento, what a great place to come to. We just had the first curbside DC fast charging stations put in Southside Park by EVGO a couple weeks ago. I mean, those are things that are happening in this city that are really going to open up opportunities for people like
So
you.
see, I needed educating, and I think that I thought I was educated. So,
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, an electric vehicle has wheels, has brakes, has a steering wheel, so it looks like a car. But the research and the purchasing experience is completely different than buying a car.
How many cup holders do they have?
I think
Mine has two.
No, seriously, I think which
I'm
car
just
was it?
teasing.
No, but there's one car that I just heard about that has a ridiculous amount. I think it had like 14 cup holders. So I'll get that and I'll get back to you because I read it and I was like, well, I know who they're going after.
Toyota seems to have a lot of
Yeah. Yeah.
So it sounds like you guys are kind of want to be the smartwatch, because you know how the smartwatch gives you the steps and your heartbeat and
You could say that, yeah.
a whole bunch of different information. But I do want to understand how does the leads and the pay per click basically work? Because that's your revenue stream. So I was trying to figure out how that.
Well, the first step is for you to understand your life, your driving lifestyle, and there's calculators online, but like oftentimes there's one text box that says how many miles you drive a week, and I don't know. I came here today from Folsom. I don't usually do that. I was in Davis for the Clean Start meetup in May. I don't usually do that. A lot of our driving is more dynamic than I just go to work and come back. And so having a tool that doesn't ask you to fit your lifestyle into a text box, but in fact just records your lifestyle and then lets you layer on things on top of that data, like the Prius Prime or the Tesla Model X or the Rivian truck. Like after we record your driving, we can then use that data to show you what life would have been like in any of the cars that you're interested in. And once you've identified a car that you're interested in, that's where we're considering handing you off to somebody that can take you from there. Yes.
Let me go back to my other question. It sounds like, and I could be missing something. It sounds like you have a large body of highly uninformed and unmotivated buyers, and a lot of very large, highly invested sellers. If Volvo's putting all of its equity in there, all these car builders are there, where are they going? What's their market vision? And who are they selling to? And if they have this market that is uninformed and unmotivated, then what's their vision and what role can you play in helping them get there? I don't see money on the other side. I don't see money on the side of people going, I gotta have this app to start telling me if I'm stupid about not wanting to get an EV. Rather, I'm the company that's investing hundreds of millions and I want to sell my product, and I've got an unmotivated buying market. And how are you what solutions are out there for me to get there? So if I was in your shoes, I would be designing to fit their needs, not the needs of the end user, except as it serves that reverse purpose. Just an observation.
I appreciate that. It's an interesting time right now because manufacturers are producing electric vehicles, but they're not doing a very good job of promoting them. I went to the Kia dealership the other day to test out their Niro, and it was in the back of the lot behind 3 cars. I had to really ask and I had to really want to sit in this thing. And so they're producing it, and some of the feedback I received in the last 2 months was that they're producing it because they have to, because they have obligations, or they have to meet certain requirements, or they're doing it because they're trying to sell into fleets, but the consumer market isn't really what they want. So there's work to be done at the dealer level, but there's a lot of work to be done at the consumer level too, to help consumers walk in and confidently ask for what they want and not have to worry about a dealer dissuading them or sending them off the course of owning that electric vehicle. So
I'm just looking at the one that has the money in their pocket, and the manufacturers are the ones with the problem. So and not the buyers. Just curiosity, if you're focusing.
I don't know if the dealers think of it as a problem because they have a whole other fleet of cars that they could sell.
I'm not even thinking of the dealers.
Okay.
I'm thinking of the companies that are manufacturing these things. They've got to get them out. They've got boatloads of cars still sitting on lots. Afterwards, what's their strategy? there's somebody in here who's looking at the same sets of research and stats that the university is turning out. Nobody got to keep their job by putting up a whole lot of agreements to build a whole lot of cars nobody wants to buy. So there's somebody in there that has a plan, a strategy, but it's not yet working. I'd be curious what my link would be if I were in your design shoes. What's the link? What's their problem? And how can I help them solve it? And what are they willing to pay me to solve it? It's just a gut reaction. And I'm looking for the dollars to end up in your end of the chain.
Yeah, I appreciate. And again, we're moving forward with what we had originally envisioned, and doing things like this and all the other things that we're doing out in the space are helping us understand exactly what we should be building. Cool. And so this is our first step.
It's your exploration.
It really is. We're not even a company yet. So
I hear you. I hear you. I would look at. I guess I'm saying I would look at that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So every month I get a report from Google Maps. Here are all the places you visited last month. Can you access that historical data to inform your reports, or do you need to get the person to agree first? Because I'm thinking if someone downloads the app and you rely on data only going forward, they have to use the app for like 3 weeks before they get reports. It seems like a recipe for inaction.
Yeah. I don't think they don't have to use it for 3 weeks before getting a report. The plan is to be generating a report in real time. You take a trip, you open the app, and you see where you just went and how those miles accumulated throughout your day. The Google API or the Google data, the location tracking data, we thought about that. I don't believe there's an open API for that. I don't believe we could just ingest that. That's something we looked into early on. We moved away from that. And on top of that, I don't have an idea about how many people actually have that setting turned on. And so unless there's an open API and we feel like the majority of people have that enabled, it's not really a solution that we probably go after in round one. Round two, round three, it would make a lot of sense to offer that opportunity to ingest that data. But again, until we can figure out if there's an open API and if there's the percentage of users that have that enabled, those are the roadblocks to adopt that kind of service.
So off of the Google Maps, you might also want to consider Mile IQ, which is what I use to track all of my driving, so I can divide it between personal and client.
Yeah, we learned about Mile IQ at Startup Weekend as well from one of the judges, Barbara, and they don't. That's all stuck there as well. The best we could do would be to partner with some of the companies and services that offer the plug. You can plug devices into your ODB port. There's one called Automatic. They have an open API, but again, it's a question of how many people actually have that thing. And so integrations and partnerships like that down the road, integrations with Google Maps and with Automatic.
I was going to say, if you're going to partner with Google Maps, you ought to just consider Mile IQ.
Exactly. So it would be amazing. If you already have the data somewhere on your phone that's accessible to us, yeah, don't worry about the test drive. Just give it to us and we'll give you the same result. But what we're finding so far is that nothing is that easy. And it's probably not the best thing for us to start with.
So we're out of time. We are so engrossed in what you were sharing with us that we forgot to keep time. So
okay.
Thank you very much. And I do want to let you know the fine money for Volkswagen